According to the internet, you should not learn how to fish from a fish. So I believe because I'm a woman, you should not be learning from me how to actually pursue a woman. But I would disagree with that. Some of the comments have been quite stingy. One of them saying, there's a reason why you're single, but they're not giving the reason. So leaving it very much open to interpretation and my own paranoia. Thank you very much. And others saying things like, it doesn't sound like you want a man, it sounds like you want a grizzly bear. Carry your own bags, and other such stingy things. But I will reply in charity and kindness and say really what I do value in men, and the fact that, you know, our sexuality, like being a woman or a man, is a gift. It is a gift from our creator. And being able to really lean into that gift and understand what it means to be feminine and to be masculine, I think is so complimentary and also not competitive. So I don't really know why some of these guys are coming for me, because I'm not in competition with you. I'm not trying to diss you in any way. I'm just out here trying to encourage people who, like me, really feel called to marriage and family life, but aren't quite there yet, and yet need to hold on to that joy, maintain that peace, and just, you know, have a few tips and tricks to really help us be our most confident when we're showing up in the dating world. So if this sounds like you, please hit the subscribe button to my humble and beginning channel as I start to grow and just really lean into these kind of topics and just learning about being a single person when you don't want to be single, but also doing that with integrity and with respect and with joy. Because, you know, as I've said on other videos, I'm not on any dating apps at the moment. I'm just really trying to see what God has in store for me, while also being open and out there and proactive to some degree. So anyway, without further ado, I really wanted to do this video about what I value in men. So as, you know, a daughter, a sister, an auntie to a nephew, friends to many men, and also colleagues, there are just so many things about men that I admire greatly and that I think are so complementary to that kind of feminine essence. Number one is resilience. I just find men do not ruminate on things as much as women do, and they're a lot more open to forgive. So, you know, if someone upsets them or annoys them, it's much more like water off a duck's back. Like, I always find when I talk to a man about my problems, their kind of response is always like, it's just not that deep. And they're able to kind of bounce back and forgive people and really genuinely and earnestly, you know, be there having forgiven the person. While I think us women, it can sometimes be harder to do that. We can sometimes harbor more emotions and more feelings. So I really love that sense of resilience. Secondly is this kind of sense of spontaneity and playfulness. I think men are a lot better at just going with the flow. They don't need to know like all of the details. They don't need to plan things. They don't need to have every single potential outcome already in their heads to enjoy something. They can just move forward for it and just not think about it so deeply. You know, the rumination I mentioned and the overthinking. So that is just something that I think is really great about men. Like, think about it when you come to booking a holiday or a trip. I feel like anytime I go on a work trip, like the women have a huge suitcase and the men just come with like a backpack, and there's just something really nice about that because it just balances out really nicely. And also the sense of play. This is something I think is so incredibly important, and I never ever want to lose it. I think that men are a lot better at really maintaining this kind of childlike quality about them. I'm not saying childish. Please note the difference there, childlike, not childish. And there's this like playfulness that just never kind of dies. Like, and I think that's so important because sometimes I think as we get older, you know, we kind of venture into our 30s, our 40s, our 50s, our 60s, you know, we start to lose that kind of, you know, childlike quality. And I think that men carry that a lot easier, just because it's in their nature, I suppose. So this element of play I love, and it's something that I definitely want to maintain in myself as well. Thirdly is discipline. I think that men are very driven by discipline, by competition, by, you know, hunting, I guess, like that hunter-gatherer kind of lifestyle. And I really do see that with men, while I see with women that we are incredible at devotion. And actually when women try to lean too much into discipline, I think that it can take us away from our feminine. So that's a way that I think it's really complementary, is that you've got discipline and then you've got devotion from women. And I always find that incredibly inspiring. I know that there's a guy in church and he used to be incredibly overweight, and he just decided one day, like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. And now you would literally have no idea that he ever struggled with obesity. And when he told me that, I just thought, wow, like it was just this decision he made in his mind and he just went for it. And he didn't let doubts or worries, like I feel like us women, you know, like we have a dream, we have so many ideas, but then we're so easily pulled away from it, or feel like, oh, maybe we're not good enough, or maybe actually I shouldn't do it, or no, it's not really working. And I think for women, we can feel discouraged a little bit sooner than men. So there's something about that discipline, that drive, that kind of competitiveness that I think is incredible. Number 4 is really acting from logic. So a lot of my like church friends who I talk to about faith, about Christianity, they often say to me that they came to the faith through intellectual means. So through academia, through reading. And I often find that, and it's not always the case, of course, everyone is different, but women talk more about the emotional layer. So, you know, like they had an emotional encounter with God, with Jesus, while men, it's very much like, well, I was reading the works of Saint Augustine, or I was reading this, and then it really just made sense to me. So I think this mind thinking logically and really leading with logic rather than emotions is also something that works really well in balance, in tandem with a woman who most probably will lead with emotions. So that also leads me into like the different brains of men and women. So I was told by a priest once that if you were to look at a room that was in the dark, the woman will switch on the light and she'll switch on the overhead light, and she's looking at the whole room and she's kind of seeing everything in one go, while the man goes in with a torch and he's looking at things really detail and very compartmentalized. And I think this compartmentalized way of thinking versus the kind of the multitasking and women thinking about everything at once and seeing all the needs also works well, because it can be quite chaotic in here in a woman's brain, because there's just like so much going on. While I do think that men's brains are wired to be more focused on one thing, and there's also something that's really good about that in terms of just like being able to work alongside a man and communicating that, and just understanding that, okay, he's got one tab open, I might have like 28 tabs, but like right now I need to focus on this one tab, and it's actually really fruitful and gets stuff done. So that is another thing I really respect and admire about my male counterparts. And something that I think is really beautiful about leaning into our masculine, leaning into our feminine, is that we're really able to learn like what our God-given kind of gifts and personalities are. Because of course, as you know, you may not actually become a physical father or physical mother, but in so many ways we are called to the virtues of fatherhood and to motherhood if you're a man or a woman. And what this means is like, you know, for me, it's like being able to nurture, to see people's needs, to put people above myself. And that those kind of virtues are so inherent to me as a woman that I will lean into them even before becoming a mother. And I think that's something really, really beautiful. But just talking about the complementarity again, because I am sensing quite a lot of tension between men and women on the internet, in real life, and also some of the comments that people have been saying to me, which haven't been the nicest. And it's that there's this like underlying bitterness or like anger towards, you know, each other, when we're not in competition with each other. Like, we should really be only saying things to each other that encourage and build the other up. Like, that is the solution for each sex feeling disappointed by the other, is that we need to just encourage each other, and we need to make sure that we never leave a person after we've encountered them worse off than when we, you know, spoke to them. So I hope that every time I have a conversation, as small as it can be, that I leave that person feeling a little bit lighter, whether it was like a smile, a compliment, just making them feel seen and heard. And I think we need to all do that for each other, because right now there's just like a lot of anger right here on the internet, on YouTube, in the world, and I think we can overcome that. And the thing is that when you do look at some of the more typical male and female characteristics and qualities, and again, I know that everyone is different, and some people may lean in different kind of areas on the spectrum. But you know, women, we're very intuitive. We have feelings, like we really lead with our feelings. So sometimes I'll just say, I have a really bad feeling about that. And I can't explain any more than that, but it's very tangible for me. While a man is more, I think, action oriented. So he'll like take action, and he will like see the dangers or the need to change his actions, and he will go with that. And while we women are more receptive, I think men are just naturally more competitive. And again, that fits really well in like a puzzle piece, but not when we turn it to each other. So we really need to stop the male versus female thing, because that's just not, it's just not cool. It's not cool. Let's just not do it. And while women are more subtle about our sense of communication and our style, I think men can be a lot more direct. So again, in communicating with each other, I think it's really important to know those nuances and to act accordingly. Something else that I really respect about men is I just don't think you care as much about what other people think. Us women, we're very, very conscious of what everyone thinks about us, and it's quite self-centered actually, because almost all the time, no one is actually thinking about us the way that we think they are. Like, oh no, like, oh, my hair looked terrible, and everyone's talking about my hair, or something really ridiculous. I mean, not so shallow or superficial as that, it may be something else, but I just find that rarely have I ever found that people are saying the things that my mind is telling me that they're saying. So I just don't think men think about these things as much, and that must be so freeing and so good. And while we women are nurturing, just as I'm saying, you know, these kind of like maternal instincts, I think men are very protective and they have these fatherly instincts, and that's also really beautiful, because it's like, okay, let me like look after and nurture and grow. And the man's like, okay, let me protect and provide, and hopefully that's not asking too much. I'm just thinking back to all the comments that were like, she wants a bear, which made me laugh. I didn't realize that bears provide. I suppose they do, they provide food, like salmon, and also protect, yeah, bears. I learned this really fun rhyme actually, which is like how to protect yourself from a bear. I think it's like, if it's brown, lie down, is it? And then if it's white, fight. Like, I think you have to like make yourself really big and like roar, but I think if it's brown, you want to just kind of make yourself small and quiet, I believe. Now I'm worried that I put that on the internet, but don't take my advice on that, please. Just maybe pray. I would be like doing the sign of the cross, like, oh my gosh, this bear. But yeah, anyway, let's move on from talking about bears. There is just something so structured and incredible about men, and I really don't want, if there's any men watching this, I don't want you to feel discouraged if you've had hard times in the dating scene, or you've been treated badly, or you've been criticized. Like, I don't want you to put your inherent worth on any of those opinions. And same thing to my girls as well, to my ladies. Like, we are worthy and incredible because we were made by God, and God loves and knows every single one of us. He knows every hair on our head. He knew us before, you know, our parents knew us. He knitted us in our mother's womb. And there's just something so incredible about that God truly sees us and knows each one of us. So don't let the words of others discourage you. And please know that, like, there are men out there who really appreciate and reverence women and respect women, and there are women out there who really admire and respect men. And, you know, I hope this has just given like a little bit of a list of things that I just think are really, you know, incredible about men, and that's just like inherent in your DNA, in your kind of masculinity. And it's so complementary. You know, in Genesis, God says it's not good for man to be alone, because he saw that, you know, man without woman wasn't quite complete, you know, because we have these complementary qualities together that are just so loving and so lovely. And whether you are single or in a marriage, we're still able to really bring those qualities into the world and to just project them into the world. Whether that's within your family of origin or at work or, you know, volunteering, there are so many ways that we can really bring our feminine or our masculine like into the world in a way that's just going to be so soothing and balancing, especially in today's culture, which is just so confused and so confusing. So I think there's something really promising about doing that. So I hope that maybe by watching this, whether you are a man or a woman, you can feel like this little inherent pledge to be more of who God made you, to really lean into your masculine or your feminine, and to bring that out, and to, you know that actually that you being authentically masculine or authentically feminine is really going to heal the world, and it's definitely going to heal this juncture that is happening between men and women. So there we go. We women value you men, and we hope that you men value us as well. And yeah, anyway, have a little think about that, and we'll see the comments, if any though. So maybe no one watches this and I have no comments, which is also sad. But even if one person watches this and it helps you just feel a little bit more encouraged, whether you're a man or woman, I'm happy. So yeah, okay, well, I'll speak to you soon. God bless.